Welcome, travelers, to High Fantasy. I'm Brett. I clapped and I shouldn't have clapped. You got me clapping. I need my herb pouch. Daddy's been paying for my salt.
This
I'm part of the poop patrol, ma'am.
And I'm Emily. But I'm like, don't make the robots.
Crunch.
I would take Speak with Dinosaur in a second. I have beef with DC. It's a thing. It's a whole thing.
Join us on our epic world-spanning adventures. Armed with only a bit of Longbottom Leaf, we will delve into some of the most amazing worlds of imagination that have ever existed. Before we get into that, don't forget to check out our Patreon if you want to support the channel. And without further ado, let's get into it.
You can clap.
We're
You
clapping.
can.
Yay! Welcome back, everybody, to another
Hello.
episode of High Fantasy. I'm Brett,
And I'm Emily.
and today we're going to be talking about a very, I'm not going to say well-fleshed-out world, but I am going to say an extremely popular one.
Yes.
So to set the scene for you with this, a lot of, I think, what we see here is regional differences.
Okay.
So, like, I want you to picture Australia. And then I want you to picture Hawaii. And then I want you to picture the African rainforest.
Okay.
Then I want you to picture the Sahara Desert.
Okay.
Okay? All vastly different areas full of extremely different environmental biomes.
You know, I was argumentatively gonna say those ones all sound really similar.
They can be,
Can be.
you know, but
The
like...
Sahara Desert is the most different one.
Yeah, Sahara... Well, Hawaii is, like, very tropical.
Uh-huh.
Whereas the deserts of... Or not the forests of Africa are more like jungle rainforests. So...
That's fair.
You
That's
have, like,
fair.
white sandy beaches and coconut trees versus, like, death jungle. you
That's
know, like...
fair.
A little different.
That's fair. My brain only goes to movies, and I'm like, those trees kind of look like those trees. That shows you haven't traveled much to tropical places.
That's so funny. That's amazing. Those trees look like those trees, like pine tree and a coconut tree right next to each other. Yeah, same thing.
No, but that's the thing is you didn't say like the Pacific Northwest, because if you said like the Pacific Northwest forest, I would think pine tree versus tropical tree. But when I think of tropical, I always think like palm trees and big. But I do guess that it's different.
Yeah. So the main thing here is what I'm trying to convey is there's a lot of different environmental changes as you kind of look at different areas of the world and stuff. This is shown immensely in the world we're going to be exploring.
Okay. So it's like every place is very, very, very different. There's no
Exactly.
in-between places, really.
Not a lot.
Okay.
Not many. And they really like to take advantage of these environmental differences. So we also get to see where in our reality, in our world, industry has taken a huge, like, leap towards deforestation. We have, a lot of pollution in the seas and stuff. There's a lot of things like that going on. In this world, they live pretty close inhabitant-wise to the creatures that are native to this place.
They're not killing their planet.
They're really not, in a lot of ways. Some
we
of them
go
are,
there?
some, but can we go there? Can we just live in this world? So, what we're gonna see is these people live in harmony with the land and with nature. And yes, there are cities, and yes, there are whole, like, towns and, population still exists, but it's a lot more coexistence instead of destruction for everything that we need. And habitats for the creatures that live here are extremely preserved.
Okay.
Like, it is a big importance to make sure that all of these things remain in existence. So let's start out this episode with this in the same way that we start out the game.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to picture this. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm in my mind's eye.
You're 10 years old.
Okay.
It's your birthday today.
Oh, shit.
And you've been staying with your family just like everyone else does. And today is a huge day for you. It is a huge milestone for you. You're 10 years old, and it's finally time for you to start on your Pokemon journey. So you get up, you get dressed, you're excited, and you make your way to your local Pokemon professor's home, where he has 3 different Pokemon for you to select.
I have to choose my starter.
So we're going to go old school.
We're not even allowed to pick from Pikachu, are we?
Nope. Nope, that was an Ash thing.
That shows you how much I know about Pokemon.
We will go into some fun things there, but yes. So we have 3 different types of Pokemon for you to choose from. There is Squirtle, the water type Pokemon, and he is kind of a blue turtle. There is Bulbasaur, who is the grass type Pokemon. And he's a 4-legged, like, Squirtle stands on 2 legs and moves around in that exact same way as like a human does. Bulbasaur moves around on all 4s.
Okay.
And has a giant plant on its back.
Oh,
like a bud.
buddy. Oh, buddy.
And then we have Charmander, the fire type, who is basically a fire lizard for all intents and purposes. So it stands up, it walks. And keep in mind, these Pokemon would come up to like your knee. At this point in their life cycle.
Yeah, because I have seen a little, like, I know a little bit about Pokemon. Like, these are big boys.
Yes. So, which one would you choose?
Bulbasaur.
Bulbasaur. Alright.
Because he's cute. He's got a little flower on his back.
So, you would start off your Pokemon journey with your one companion, Bulbasaur. And this companion will be the main focal point of a lot of what's going to happen to you in the rest of your journey. This is going to be your best friend. This is going to be your confidant. It's going to grow in strength as you grow as a person. And this thing will probably be with you for the rest of your days.
I feel like life would be so much better if every 10-year-old got a puppy.
It is expected at the age of 10 years old that you will leave home to go on your Pokemon journey. Now, this looks different for some people.
Okay.
Most of the time, your parents give you some money, but it's literally like you're a 10-year-old child expected to go all across the area that you're in. Like most of the time, once again, let's say Australia.
Yeah.
For intents and purposes. This would be the Kanto region.
Okay.
I believe it's Kanto. So you would be going around a series of islands and stuff as you are exploring the world around you for the most part. Like getting a feel of what this looks like. And this is your coming of age ceremony. Now, with the help of your new friend, you will venture into other wild and inhabited areas at times, and you will find other creatures much like your new companion. These are other Pokemon.
These adults are just sending 10-year-olds off into the woods.
Yep.
Like, go play with wild animals.
Yep.
Have fun.
Yep. That's 100% what... This is your coming of age. Try not to die, Billy. Bye.
How many deaths are there in this world?
This was a game created for children. And they didn't understand that eventually there would be ramifications for the choices and the story decisions that they made later on. So obviously, this is not a dark world. We don't see that happening. It's fun, and you meet friends, and you have adventures, and you do all this stuff.
I want to read that fan fiction, though.
This is how you grow, and this is how you evolve as a person and kind of become the adult that you're meant to be. Some people don't even make it to the first gym.
Okay.
Other people go on to challenge the Elite Four to become the Pokemon Master of the region. So we'll get into that in a minute. So your main goal as a trainer is to catch Pokemon and create a team of 6 Pokemon.
Okay.
You will then use these Pokemon to go up against gym leaders. Now, this is a job in the Pokemon universe. You are a gym leader. You get to stay in a building, which you get to design and choose however you want it to be, and you focus on one type of Pokemon that your 6 Pokemon will be. So if it's grass, if it's fire...
Does it have to be one
if
type?
it's pretty much. Sometimes they mix a little bit where it's like it'll be dual types. But for the most part, there's the fire gym leader, there is the ice gym leader, there is the grass gym leader, so on and so forth. Your goal as a trainer is to venture to these gyms, kind of encountering more Pokemon along the way, changing out your team, capturing these other creatures, and creating the perfect fighting force to essentially go up against this gym leader. Now, obviously, some types of Pokemon are better than others at fighting certain other types. Mm-hmm. So, a rock-type Pokemon is extremely effective at fighting fire-type Pokemon, because rock types can't really get burned. Mm-hmm. So, not going to hurt you as much. Water-type Pokemon are great at fighting fire-type Pokemon, because water puts out fire.
Yeah.
And you basically have this rock, paper, scissors-esque formula.
Yeah, it's one thing beats another thing, answer to another, and blah, blah, blah.
There's always an answer. Something is super effective, which means it does double damage. Or something is not very effective, which means it does half as much damage.
Okay.
So if you try to use a water-type move on a water-type Pokemon, it's not very effective.
Okay.
If you use a water-type move on a fire-type Pokemon, it is super effective. And if you use a water-type move on, say, a flying-type Pokemon, it will be normal. So just straight-up normal damage.
Okay.
There are a lot of different types of Pokemon, by the way, which is something I want to get into more, but we're talking kind of more of how your journey would look.
Yeah.
So you are going up against this gym leader.
Uh-huh.
And let's say you manage to beat them.
Okay.
Their whole team. And they're an elite. It's their job to stay in this building with your team of Pokemon and to accept all challengers. So you just wait there for a kid to show up.
These guys
and you either
buff.
beat him into the ground or he beats you. If he beats you as the gym leader, he gets a badge.
You know, I'm thinking that the reason this world isn't as fucked as our current one is just because not a lot of them make it.
It's natural selection and a bunch of dead people.
Like,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, they live closely with nature and there's no such thing as global warming because millions probably
of people die consistently. Yeah. So your goal is to go to these 8 different gyms, beat all of the gym leaders, and get their badges to prove that you beat them in a Pokemon battle.
Okay. Good.
Once you've collected all 8 badges, you qualify for a fight against the Elite Four.
Ooh.
Now, these people are the region's best Pokemon trainers.
So you gotta get your your guys buff.
Your team has to be very powerful.
They're like, we're not accepting the 10-year-olds. Come back when you're 12.
So you can that's the game. You can still challenge the Elite Four at 10 years old, and you can win, and you can become regional champion.
So everybody who becomes regional champion is regional champion for 2 minutes.
You're the regional champion. It's kind of a permanent title, so you have that regional champion badge.
Oh, so there's a shit ton of regional champions.
There can be.
Oh, okay, so there's not just one dude.
But not a whole lot of people make it past the Elite Four. They're a pretty gross team.
What else? Because you obviously said that there was the job of the gym trainer. Mm-hmm. What are some other jobs in this world?
Everything that exists in our world exists in that world. So you can still be an electrician, you can still be a plumber, you can still be, all this other stuff.
So the society is just come to the consensus that everybody just needs to have a pet as a hobby?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a curriculum taught in school of how to be a good Pokemon trainer.
What?
Uh-huh.
This is... I'm trying to wrap my head around this, because this is just so confusing to me that... story-wise, as a society, as a whole, everybody just decided on their own that we're all going to have the same exact hobby and everybody has to take care of one of these.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah. So this is the world of Pokemon. Everyone enjoys Pokemon. Everyone loves Pokemon. You can almost always find an affinity with some kind of Pokemon in this, society. Uh-huh. So maybe you like fire types. Maybe you like electric types. And that's not even talking about the benefits that these animals, and they are animals, I'm going to preface that. They are
Yeah.
wild creatures for the
Yes.
most part that get tamed, right? So it's just like having a dog. It's just like having a cat, except my dog has a flamethrower.
And they're like, at 10 years old, we should make sure everybody has one of these guys at 10-year-old. And in fact, we should make sure that everybody has one of these when they're 10-year-olds and also fights other ones when they're 10 years old.
Yeah, oh, not only that, you steal their money. Like, if you are a 10-year-old and you beat some other person in a Pokemon battle, they have to pay you.
So if I'm a 10-year-old who's growing up in this world who's just like, hey, I would love to be a waitress when I grow up. I really just love waiting tables and talking to people. I'm gonna skip this whole battle thing. Is that okay? I'm gonna just take my Pokemon and go home. Is that an option?
That is an option.
Okay, cool. It's like,
You don't
so
have
not
to,
everybody. Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to participate in this. But a lot of the times in the Pokemon world, it's portrayed as something that it's a pastime everyone gets into. This is a national sport.
Okay.
Like, the tournaments are broadcast on live TV for everyone to watch.
So that makes more sense to me, that this is just something that everybody really enjoys doing, and you'd be kind of the odd one out if you didn't do it.
Yeah.
What doesn't make sense is the idea that, like, you know that when you're 10 years old, you have to do this. Because that's what it sounded like. It was like, when you're 10, you have to do this, and you don't have a choice.
Yeah, like I said, it's you're coming of age, so it would be extremely odd if you didn't.
Uh-huh.
Because it's kind of like when you're 18 going out and getting your own apartment.
Yeah.
But this world, it just happens to be a lot sooner than that, and it's supposed to give you worldly experience, you're supposed to make friends, and this is supposed to kind of shape your life going forward.
That makes a lot more sense,
Because sometimes what people will do is they'll just be like, I got this electric type Pokemon, and I realized I really like electric Pokemon, and it inspired me to become an electrician, and me and my buddy Pikachu over here work on we became electricians. This is what we do now. This is kind of our feature.
Huh. That's actually really cool.
And leading to that, people use Pokemon for all kinds of stuff. So, like, if you have, let's say, a Growlithe, which is basically a big fire dog, they're used by police to help, like, track down, ne'er-doers and thieves and stuff like that. But also used to, like, there might be a chef with a Growlithe, and he, like, cooks at your table, and his Growlithe is, like, with a flamethrower, just heating up the pan. He's like, yeah, that's my buddy, like, we're searing steaks for you. You like this?
Adorable.
This is good.
I was actually gonna ask, because, like, one of the things is, like, if they stop their education at 10 years old, so they can go do this Pokemon thing instead, that implies that, like, they aren't getting a higher education, which then my question comes into ask, what about, like, doctors and that sort of thing? Like, are there healer Pokemon who they just use healing magic? Or, is it a magical world? Or is it, like, a brain surgeon over here? It's like, yeah, I just kind of, like, know how to do brain surgery, but nobody taught me.
So this has two answers.
Okay.
One, remember that the people who made this world were making it for children and didn't ask themselves hard questions on economics and how things would work if this existed.
I think that's a fair statement.
So, yes. There are doctors, and they do perform brain surgery. Did they ask themselves how that happens when most people leave at school at 10 years old and probably... Because their college still exists. You can go to college in the Pokemon universe, but that's not... We don't ask ourselves these questions. You're going to find gaping plot holes, and what I'm going to need you to do is just glance right over that.
For sure.
And by that, I mean, feel free to ask that question, but understand that the answer to those questions might commonly be they didn't think about it.
Yeah, so I think next time I ask a question that, like, is just a plot hole answer, we'll just say plot hole.
Yeah, plot hole.
And then we'll say plot hole.
Yeah.
And then we'll move on.
But also, yes, healing is magical. And there are Pokemon that can heal people with, like, they put their hands on them and boop, and they heal. And those Pokemon are consistently found at things called Poke Centers.
Yeah, I know one thing. Nurse Joy.
We're gonna get into a crazy bit of fuckery with that.
Okay, I'm here for it. Let's go.
So,
I'm riding this train.
At every single Poke Center,
Yes.
in every region, all over the world, you will find Nurse Joy.
Isn't that because she's a Pokemon?
No. It's because the Nurse Joy family continues to, and this is how this is how a bunch of adults, and I want to preface this is how a bunch of adults chose to address this issue.
Okay.
She has a fudge ton of sisters, and they all look exactly like her.
I like the theory that she's a Pokemon better. Because I've seen the theory that people come up with where, like, yeah, Nurse Joy is just a Pokemon. There's, like, so many of her, and, like, they go into, like, I like conspiracies. And the moon landing never happened, and Nurse Joy is a Pokemon.
The exact same information is used to explain Officer Jenny.
Oh, okay.
Because generally when you go to a town, there is one police officer there. Because crime in the Pokemon world is a very, very slim.
Well,
there's not nearly as much of it as
yeah.
we have in our world.
Why would you murder somebody when you can just challenge them to a Poke Battle instead?
Mm-hmm.
You're mad at somebody, you want to rob a bank, I'm gonna just have my Pokemon kill your Pokemon, and then I'm gonna steal your money!
Kill it. This is another thing. Pokemon generally are never viewed as dead. You can knock them out, you can make them unconscious, but you cannot kill them. And so it is, like, I think that it is canon that Pokemon can die, but it's not, like, when you're playing the games, you don't do that. Like, you'll knock out the enemy team, then they go to a Poke Center, and they heal them for free, because healthcare is free in the Pokemon universe, by the way. Yeah, you can just go at any point and just be like, hey, I'm not feeling so good. And they're like, hey, we got you. And then this Chansey comes out, which is a Pokemon that's kind of shaped like a giant egg. And it walks up and is like, Chansey! And just like touches you and you feel better.
Must be nice when you only have a population of 200,000 people.
Don't worry about it. Yeah. Easy. But Pokemon are a part of everything that is done in the Pokemon universe.
Okay.
So there are electric Pokemon that are used to generate power. And they'll, like, if the power does go out, because we still have power plants, and that's not a Pokemon thing fully, but they're used for backup generators. They can still generate electricity to do that. Fire Pokemon have been used to smelt ores. And, like, used to refine metals and steel. Also used, like I said, for cooking. All kinds of stuff like that. You have water Pokemon that are used as rescue teams in case someone is drowning or something. You just, like, a water Pokemon will go and grab the person and be like, I got it, don't worry.
Got him.
They are portrayed with varying levels of intelligence. Some of them are, you know, about as intelligent as a normal animal. Others are almost, if not more than human level intelligence.
Okay.
So they're really smart. Now we're going to get into something that I think is really fun to talk about, and that's the Pokedex.
Okay.
So in every region, there is a regional professor. That is who you have to get your Pokemon from.
Okay.
When you get your Pokemon, you get an item called a Pokedex. Whenever you find a new Pokemon in the wild, you can scan it with your Pokedex. And it will tell you what type the Pokemon is, their general environment, how nice they are for the most part, how easy they could be to catch, that kind of thing. Temperament, things like that. The Pokedex entries are one of the biggest plot holes in the Pokemon universe.
Yeah?
So it will tell you height, weight, you know, all that fun stuff. So there is a Pokemon, and I think it's called, Slugma? Slugma. And it's a slug made out of lava. And it has an evolution
Like
where it gets like a
magma.
little shell. Yeah, like Slugma. Well, this thing is hotter than the sun. That is according to the Pokedex entry. Literally burns hotter than the sun. To the point that if it was just in a forest, it would immediately start a forest fire. What's to stop someone from catching one of these, which you shouldn't even be able to get close to it, from accidentally pulling it out of its Pokeball in a place that's anywhere near flammable? Not much, right? That is one of the Pokemon or Pokedex entries that doesn't really make a lot of sense, because when they were writing that Pokemon description, they were like, this sounds so cool, and not thinking of the real-life ramifications that would have.
Right, like, that wouldn't be possible.
There is another Pokemon, now granted, this one's a legendary one, called Lugia.
Uh-huh.
It's a giant bird.
Okay.
It is actively in the lore that every time this thing beats its wings, it causes tsunamis. How often do you think a bird flaps its wings when it's in flight? You know?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a question of like, there's another one called Machamp.
Uh-huh.
It's a fighting type Pokemon.
Okay.
Canonically strong enough to lift mountains.
And you can just catch these.
Yes.
Like, easily?
Yes. Well, not easily.
Not
like,
easily,
obviously,
but...
it's like sometimes. So that's kind of. They did not think about the ramifications that any of this would have on everyday life when they were writing these or coming up with these.
Yeah.
So then they had to figure out a world where this was okay. And a lot of the times it doesn't fit or it doesn't work because they're like, well, we have to fully ignore the Pokedex entry because this is crazy.
Yeah.
There's no way this exists. So you'll see in the Pokemon TV series, you'll actively see people like right next to their Slugma.
Uh-huh.
Despite the fact that even being anywhere near that thing's vicinity should turn you into a briquette. So you know?
You know?
There's that. So there is a lot of things. There's a Pokemon called Abracadabra.
Okay.
Or sorry, not Abracadabra. It's called Kadabra.
Okay.
Kadabra. It has the brain capacity of, I want to say, like 10 supercomputers.
Okay.
It's that smart.
Okay.
Canonically.
Mm-hmm.
It can still be captured and used as a Pokemon. Like, it's still a Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
It's not considered a sentient person with rights. It's like, this is a pet. And you're like, that thing has the brain capacity of 10 supercomputers? And is being some child's pet? What? So, you know, we're going to have a lot of that.
Yeah.
Where it doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense. And we'll see that happen a lot because this is a world initially intended for children to play a game in, and then they decided that they were going to make it more than that.
Yeah, this is kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh, except for it wasn't Yu-Gi-Oh cards, it was Pokemon cards.
In a lot of ways.
It was Pokemon video game. I guess
Video
it's
game.
different.
Video game first, then the cards
game.
came out, and then...
Yeah.
But yes, it was so wildly popular that everything that happened kind of spun it into a way that wasn't necessarily explainable.
Yeah.
Because they didn't think they would ever have to.
No, they're like, this is just going to be something cute and fun, and that's not even something you can catch in this original game. You know, this is just something that might maybe exist.
Yeah, so you'll see that a lot. Now, I would love to talk about one type of Pokemon.
Okay.
Because I think the acknowledgement that this exists is nuts.
What is it?
Ghost-type Pokemon.
Yes, spooky.
Now, when I say ghost-type Pokemon, what do you think that kind of... What kind of images does that bring to mind? Like, what would you think that would look like?
Oh, so... because like I said, I'm a little bit familiar, like, I've seen images of Pokemon and that sort of thing, so when I think of it, I think, like, the purple ones.
Right? Yeah, like Gengar, Ghastly, Haunter.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Now I'm gonna blow your mind.
Oh, I'm ready to be blown.
Wow. Say that for after the podcast. Canonically, every ghost-type Pokemon is a dead human.
A dead human?
A dead human.
I thought you were gonna say, like, a dead Pokemon.
No.
A dead-ass human.
We're talking dead-ass humans. Humans can become Pokemon by dying and becoming a ghost type.
That's so cool.
Not every human that dies becomes a ghost type. Not every Pokemon that dies becomes a ghost type. But it is a possibility.
So Pokemon can become ghost types as well?
I believe so. I think canonically both of them can. But if you read the Pokedex entries for some of these ghost-type Pokemon, it is fucked.
Oh, shit. Does it say, like, Sally died on the railroad tracks in 1982?
So it's kind of like people that die of a broken heart might find themselves becoming this kind of Pokemon.
What the fuck?
That's a canonical thing. There's also some really messed up ghost type Pokemon entries in the scary, freaky, oh, I don't like this method, where there's a ghost type Pokemon that looks like a balloon. It's called Drifloon. I want to say it's Drifloon.
Oh, God.
Anyway, it looks just like a balloon with a string.
Yeah.
And it says these things like to prey on children by floating around them until the kid grabs a hold of the string and then flying them away from their parents.
What the fuck?
That's canonical. That's an actual Pokedex entry.
How spooky.
Yeah.
That's spooky.
You remember in the Magic episode where we talked about Elsbeth having to make like a golden mask to get out of hell?
Yeah.
There's a Pokemon that has a golden mask that looks like the face of the person who died.
That's hot. That's so spooky. This is Pokemon really being like, okay, our audience is growing. We want angst. Give them angst.
It was really scary because, like, I think there's even a Pokemon episode where a Haunter is like this girl's dead grandfather or something, and he hangs out with her still, and they just, like, go around and do stuff, but he knows that that's his granddaughter. Like, he actively was seeking her out and protecting her and helping her. So there is, like, even a human recognition of they remember their past lives to a point where they can actually recognize other humans that they had interactions with. You can not try and protect them or help them or, you know, like, they recognize
That's so sweet. That's
It
so
is.
sad.
It's very sweet and it's very sad. But that's just kind of, like, you have these really childlike moments of whimsy in the Pokemon world, and that's the vast majority of what it is.
Yeah.
It's all just very simple, it's very fun. And then you have these other moments where you're like, what the fuck did I just... It as an adult, when you're looking at it, you're like, oh my goodness. And then as a kid, you're looking at it, you're like, haha, this is fun. You know, like, it fully blows past your childhood brain. But as an adult, you're looking at it, and you're like, this is not something I think is great right now. This gave me existential dread, and I shouldn't be having existential dread playing a child's game.
Yeah.
Like a child's video game right now, but I am. So, being a Pokemon trainer, and not only being a Pokemon trainer, but being a, like, regional champion and stuff, these are actual jobs that exist in the Pokemon universe. But I'd love to talk about one that I think you're really going to love.
Shoot.
Pokemon fashion designer. Because there are Pokemon fashion shows.
That's incredible.
Yes, and just like with battling, just like with, like, actual tournaments for Pokemon battles, there are tournaments for Pokemon fashion shows. And you can get awards and achievements, and you can be the top idol in the Pokemon universe.
I would fashion my Pokemon to be so cute. They'd have little bow ties.
Oh yeah, they're like, they can have bow ties, they have full little, like, outfits and jackets, and they have makeup that you can put on them and sparkles and...
Oh, I'm thinking Bulbasaur in, like, overalls.
A little farmer.
Like, little, like, I want to say, like, Carhartt, like, maybe, like, a darker color, like, a darker brown, with, like, a little button-up green shirt that's, like, rolled up at the sleeves, with a big old straw hat on. And then a little piece of hay sticking out of his mouth. It'll be a little farmer Bulbasaur.
A little farmer Bulbasaur. That'd be super cute.
And you wear a little bow tie. And it'd be so cute. And the little bow tie, the center of it would be his little flower to match his flower on his back.
That would be really cute. I should also say, as Bulbasaur evolves, because that is a big part of Pokemon that I didn't bring up, is as Pokemon get stronger and beat other Pokemon in battle, they will eventually hit a point where they will evolve. When a Pokemon evolves, their appearance changes. It's kind of like them going from adolescence to puberty to adulthood. Generally, there's 3 evolutions. Sometimes there's more. We'll get into that in a minute. But for Bulbasaur, he starts out with this little, like, bulb on his back, and he's just kind of walking around. He's like, Bulbasaur. And then he evolves into Ivysaur, I want to say. It's
Aww.
Venusaur or Ivysaur. I want to say Venus. No, Venusaur's the final one. Ivysaur, which is the bulb has sprouted,
Aww.
and it's a full-on like flower and everything on his back.
Yeah.
And he's a little bit bigger. He's got like more definition to him, going through his adolescent phase, and then finally into Venusaur, which has a full tree on his back.
Oh, I love it. I would climb it and sleep in its branches.
And there's also regional variations of Pokemon, which fully change how they act and their typing.
Okay.
So there's Meowth, which is a normal type Pokemon. That's what a Pokemon would be without any typing.
Huh.
Well, if you go to Alola, which is kind of like Hawaii, you would find another Meowth, but it's a dark type.
Oh.
And it's a full black instead of the normal sleek, like, white that you see a lot of Meowths with.
Ooh, okay. That's very fun. I like that.
I want to say it's the Meowth. Maybe I'm thinking Rattata. Anyway, same idea. So you end up with, like, different regional variations. There is a electric water type Pikachu. Or maybe it's electric psychic. But anyway, double.
I would want, like, a mixture of whatever's, like, green and black, I guess. So, like, grass type and, like, I don't know if it would be dark type or ghost type.
How about a ghost grass type called Pumpkaboo?
Yes, exactly that.
That's a thing.
I don't know Pokemon. What does it look like?
It looks like a jack-o'-lantern with a ghost inside of it that kind of like walks around and looks like a ghost cat.
Oh, that's so cute.
Pumpkaboo.
Oh, that's so cute.
Pumpkaboo.
It's a little ghost cat. Is there little like an armholes for it through the pumpkin?
I don't remember if I think so. I want to say yes, but yeah, it's extremely adorable. Pumpkaboo.
What's it called?
Pumpkaboo.
I'm gonna Google this while we talk.
You should. There's also another one that's a haunted tree.
This is exactly what I. Oh my god! It's so cute. It's like a little bat.
They knew what they were doing.
It's like a little.
I always thought it looked like a cat,
bats.
but yeah, you're probably right. It's
I
probably a
love
bat.
Halloween. It's just because it looks like wings coming out of it.
Yeah. But yeah, there's another.
It's a cat. I see the cat too.
Another one that's a haunted tree. Like, you can find dual typings a lot more commonly now than you used to.
That's the one I want. How did I pick the spooky one?
So I also think it's funny because, like, remember when I told you there were gyms?
Yes.
One of them you can fight is a ghost gym, like a ghost type.
Okay.
Now, here's a fun thing. A lot of the times you can come up with, this is the thing that's effective against this through process of elimination, right?
Okay.
So, like, fire is effective against grass types because, like, forest fires.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a pretty obvious thing. Mm-hmm. What do you think is super effective against ghost types?
When I think ghost, I think the opposite of that being like radiant or like holy type, like light almost. I guess.
Yeah, it doesn't really exist.
Like, I don't know.
Psychic types.
Psychic? I guess that makes sense. A little bit. I don't think of undead that way.
I want to say psychic because there, and this is where the typing gets a little crazy, right? Because like, what's super effective against dragons? Dragons. That's literally a dragon type Pokemon is super effective against another dragon type Pokemon.
A dragon type is a type?
Yeah, it's a type.
We fully glossed over that. Okay,
yeah.
So I guess, how many different types are there? Do you know all of them?
I know a lot of them, and let's go through like the basics, right?
Okay.
So there's fire type.
Okay.
There's grass type.
Okay.
There's water type.
Okay.
Electric type.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like kind of once we're getting into a lot of like the core 4 in a lot of ways. There's fighting type, psychic type, ghost type, steel type, dark type, normal type, dragon type, fairy type,
rock or
oh yes, rock type is another kind that you can run into. Did I say fighting?
Yes, you did.
So at least like 13.
At least.
Probably a lot more that I'm just like fully not thinking about. But yes, I think rock is considered ground type, but yes. Flying type, so there's 14.
That's a lot of types.
Uh-huh.
And they can't have, like, light.
Oh, bug type, that's 15.
Bug? Ooh.
Yep, they do not have, like, light. It's not a thing. But a lot of the times, things that are effective against ghosts, or things that are effective against psychic, sometimes you'll run into things that are super effective against each other. Because, like, dark type is super effective against psychic. Because it's a fear. It's the mental fear of the dark.
Okay.
Right, so that makes sense. Dragons are super effective against other dragons. And then fairies?
Right,
Like, fairies are effective against dragon types. Don't ask me why. It's just a thing.
What's effective against fairies?
I don't remember.
Oh.
Fairy was a new addition when I kind of stopped playing. Or kind of stopped getting into it a lot.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of, like, rock, paper, scissors, but you kind of be like, why the fuck is this effective against this? What's going on here?
Right.
Why is this happening? So I think we've gone kind of into how Pokemon starts, what you're doing, what's going on with it. I would love for you to say what kind of gym leader you would want to be. Knowing the types that you know.
So and you have to choose one type.
And generally each... Now, you can do 2 if it's a cross type. So, like, if you're a ghost gym leader, you can still do Punkaboo, even though Punkaboo is still a grass and ghost type. You see what I'm saying? But it still has to fit the main theme. You can't just be like, I'm going to be a ghost type gym leader, and I'm going to have a Charizard.
I think I would be a grass type leader with heavy sprinklings of ghost, like grass ghost, you know?
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I think I don't know Pokemon well enough to like build a team or anything. But I like plant stuff and I like spooky things. So that's what I got. What about you?
I love that.
What did you? Because you've you've actively like invested yourself into the world of Pokemon. So what did your
For a
main
long time.
what did your mains look like?
So I didn't actually start out with Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle.
Okay.
Mine was Sceptile
Okay.
was my big one I really enjoyed playing as, which was the grass.
Oh.
But it's kind of like a grass lizard.
Okay.
Eventually is kind of what it evolves into and becomes. And I really, really liked that. But I used a lot of legendary Pokemon, because obviously why wouldn't you if, if you could. So I really liked, I had Sceptile was my main guy. And then I think I had Rayquaza was one of mine, which is a legendary flying and... Oh, shit. Was he also grass? Could have been. I eventually kind of liked the fire Pokemon a lot more, but I started out with grass, and I really liked the grass a lot.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like, there's something really relaxing thinking about going into a gym that's basically a giant garden.
Right.
And just being like, hey, man, yeah, like, hey, bud, how you doing? Like, you ready to
It feels
to
a
take
lot
this
less
challenge?
intimidating than walking into like the freaking like hell land of a fire type being like, come fight me, bitch.
Yeah,
Like...
exactly. You ready to get burned? It's like, yeah, like, you ready to try for the gym badge? Oh, you didn't make it? That's okay. Like, you can feel free to come back and try again if you want to. Like, go level up a little bit. Come on back. You want some tea? I got some tea.
Take a sucker on your way out.
Yeah.
They're organic. I make them homemade.
Like, I think that would be a really fun gym leader to be.
Right? Because then you're just a hippie.
Uh-huh. But the idea of living in a haunted mansion as a ghost-type gym leader would be amazing.
That feels fun.
It's like Eternal Night.
See, because that's kind of what I would want. I would want the almost like Addams Family style, like, mansion, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I like dark, gothic, but mansion sort of thing, but with, like, ivy and green and vines growing all throughout it.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's talk about some of the mini game kind of aspects to Pokemon that are actually extremely important.
Okay.
So, depending on the Pokemon game you're in, i.e., the region that you're probably in, they have different things, but a lot of the times they have berries.
Mm-hmm.
And holding on to a berry for a Pokemon is great because they can kind of like eat it in the middle of combat and it will help them deal with certain things.
Yeah.
So, like, if they hold on to a certain berry, it can help them recover from being burned.
Mm-hmm.
Or it can help them recover from confusion. Or it can just give them HP when they eat the berry.
Yeah.
Well, there's also different Pokemon items that are used for battle and stuff like that. One of my favorites being Experience Share.
Okay.
Which was you could put Experience Share onto a Pokemon, and if you beat another Pokemon while the other guy was in your team with Experience Share,
Mm-hmm.
he would get XP even if he didn't participate in the fight.
Oh, shit, okay.
So it was extremely useful for leveling your other Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
But the growing of these berries is part of being a farmer
Okay.
for the Pokemon world, because these berries are extremely nutritious and
Mm-hmm.
extremely effective at breeding and helping Pokemon.
Okay.
Even more so when they are cooked into something called puffins.
Cooking mini game.
And so you can kind of make these different Pokepuffins, like Pokemon Puffins, and feed them to your Pokemon to increase stats.
I would be cooking always.
Another thing that you can do in other ones is you can make Pokeblocks, is what they're called. So you know how we have Pez dispensers?
Yeah.
I want you to think exactly that. That is exactly what a Pokeblock dispenser is. It's this little cube that is compressed berries.
Oh.
And you feed it to your Pokemon.
That's adorable.
And depending on the berries that you use in the block, depends on the color that it comes out as, but they're just like, yay! And you like pop a little Pokeblock in their mouth, and they're like, this is great! And it increases some of their stats.
That's wonderful.
It was a really fun minigame that you got to kind of enjoy. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things that I got to do. Also, in the Pokemon universe, there are these things called TMs and HMs.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a little disc. Do not ask me how this works, because they never explain it, but it teaches your Pokemon how to do a different move. So in the Pokemon games, you can only ever have 4 active moves associated with your Pokemon. So that could be like, Pikachu, use Thunder Wave.
Yeah.
Pikachu, use Thunderbolt.
Mm-hmm.
Use Quick Attack, etc., etc. With these TMs, you could teach your Pokemon a move that they normally wouldn't know, as long as it's still in their move set.
What does TM stand for?
I don't know. Oh, Technical Machine.
Oh, okay.
Technical Machine. And it literally just looks like a little computer disc. So I don't know if you're like cramming this into some kind of like hard drive on your computer, and then having your Pokemon sit in front of it, and I have no idea. Like a disk drive.
Pokemon are robots.
Right. There are robot Pokemon.
Well, that's another type.
Yeah. That's the Steel type.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like those random battle items and things like that exist in the Pokemon universe
Mm-hmm.
that they don't. I wouldn't say they go into great detail about explaining or teaching you how to use it or showing you how to do the stuff. Also, as time has progressed, there's always new Pokemon with every new Pokemon the game that comes out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of these have gotten crazy.
Oh, shit. Okay.
And not in a great way, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because it feels like they're literally losing all creative ability when they come out with some of these things.
Okay.
And I'm going to explain why. With the original Pokemon games, it was these little creatures that existed out in the, in the wilderness, in their own little environments and stuff, and they just kind of were there. Anatomy was more of a side thing for them, but it was kind of like dinosaurs. Looked a lot like dinosaurs. They're just cute little chibi creatures that eventually turned into these giant, like, fire-breathing dragon kind of things that were scary and big and awesome and cool looking.
Okay.
To be fair, there are thousands of Pokemon.
Uh-huh.
That's a lot of character designs.
Yeah.
They're not all going to be gems.
No.
That's totally fine.
Yeah.
One of the newest Pokemon that I can remember is a Pokemon called Venilish.
Okay.
You already probably know where this is going because of the name. It looks like an ice cream cone. I'm not even kidding. It looks like a sentient ice cream cone with a face.
I did not see where that was going at all.
Ice type, that's another one. So that's like, what, 16, 17?
I don't know.
Anyway, lots of types. But
5,
it's an ice
10,
type.
15?
And it looks like like fully with the cone and with the like swirl.
It's an ice cream cone.
It is literally an ice cream cone.
That's
And its
hilarious.
evolution looks like a double scooped ice cream cone.
That's freaking adorable. Oh, what if you just had food-based Pokemon where you only collected Pokemons that looked like food? Would that be possible to have a team of 6?
Probably.
There's gotta be, right?
Gotta be. There is a ghost steel type Pokemon that is a sword.
Isn't there like a toaster or something?
I know there's a keychain. Like a key ring.
They really just stopped at a certain point. We're just like, now we're just going to draw out our office supplies.
That's kind of like,
faces
yeah,
on
like
them.
cups. And like they would do almost anything if it was... There's a washer,
Is there a stapler?
probably.
I don't know why, but I really want a stapler Pokemon.
It really wouldn't surprise me if there was, to be honest with you. Like, the amount of stuff that they have put out there of like, okay, and some of them are so cool and I love them. And others I'm just like, okay, you really just kind of needed to flush out the list here, and so you added this. But, like, it's generally as easy as pick an animal.
Mm-hmm.
Dog.
Yeah.
Pick an element. Water.
Water dog.
Yeah, this is Splish Splash.
Splish splash, he was taking a bath.
Like, but it's almost always been animalistic, element, go. So this is my new fire lizard.
Yeah.
This is my new electric chimp. Like, you know, it's generally always been that formula. But they decided, they were like, what if we just, I don't know, how about ice cream? And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, that was the thing? But now I would love to talk about a different way that you can evolve Pokemon. Because remember I told you, like, you battle and they eventually hit, like, these different levels and they turn into a different Pokemon.
Yes.
Some of them don't work that way.
Okay.
You have to have special stones that are used to evolve them.
Mm-hmm.
And so for an electric type, you need a Thunderstone. Water type, you need a Water Stone. Fire type, Fire Stone, etc., etc., etc.,
Yeah.
right? Well, this is true for, like, Pikachu, one of the biggest ones of the franchise, right? Starts out as Pichu, evolves into Pikachu through a battle,
Okay.
and then if you want it to evolve into a Raichu, you have to use a Thunderstone
Okay.
in order to get it to evolve. Well, it's kind of funny because the game doesn't really tell you that. So if you're just leveling up your Pikachu, you'll get it to max level, and it's not a Raichu.
And you're just like, why are you still a Pikachu?
Exactly. So it's very interesting. Sometimes it's actually better for you to wait to evolve your Pokemon with a stone, because there's certain moves that it can only learn when it's leveling up in its other form. And so it's better to wait, learn that move, then use the stone on them to evolve them.
Because then you'll never learn that move otherwise.
Exactly, unless you have like a TM that does it. But I think a lot of people that are like, oh, this is a Pokemon episode, would be sad if I didn't mention one Pokemon in particular.
Okay.
It is kind of a fan favorite, and it's one that the creators of Pokemon have doted on since the beginning of the game.
It's Diglett.
Oh my god! Oh, it's so good!
Am I right?
You're not right, but that would have been so funny if it was frickin' Diglett. It's called Eevee.
Yeah, the Eevees. I know. I had an Eevee friend. She had like plushies of all the Eevees. She cosplayed as one of them.
Now, remember when I told you that, like, most of the time, a Pokemon will have, like, 2 evolutions?
Yeah.
It'll have, like, its baby form, and then it'll have, like, its adolescent, and then it'll have its
Uh-huh.
adult, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's a pretty basic standard ideology.
Yeah.
Eevee does not. You cannot evolve Eevee unless you use stones or other very special methods on it. So an Eevee,
Okay.
if you just have a base form of an Eevee, it will get to max level unless you do something.
And it's just an Eevee.
Just an Eevee. So, there's the basic ones.
Yeah.
You can turn Eevee into a fire type with a Firestone, and it turns into a Flareon.
Uh-huh.
You can turn it into a water type with a Water Stone. It's called Espeon, or not Espeon, it's Vaporeon. Don't come at me in the comments. I got it right that time. You can evolve it into an electric type with a Thunderstone, and it's called a Jolteon, but you're seeing like on,
Yeah.
right? Like Jolteon, Espeon,
Yep.
Vaporeon, that kind of thing. So those were originally what it could turn into.
Yeah.
Those were like its 3 forms. It's really cool, super fun, loved it. 3 different evolutions, but you could only hit them if you gave it a stone.
Uh-huh.
Then, they decided that they wanted to add more to it in some of the newer games. So they came out with 2 different forms for it.
Uh-huh.
They gave it a Psychic type,
Uh-huh.
and they gave it a Dark type.
Mm-hmm.
So you now have Espeon and Umbreon. Umbreon being the Dark
'Cause it's
type,
basically-
Espeon being like
What it
ESP.
is that it's always going to start as Eevee,
Yep,
but then it can turn into any of these depending on what you give it.
yep, depending on what
okay.
you do to it. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I want to say with Espeon and Umbreon, there's a very unique way that you have to do it. You have to, like, give them an item at a certain time during the day if you want to be an Espeon or an Umbreon, and it will evolve into that thing, or it's maybe you level it at a certain time, I forget. Anyway, or, like, go to a certain place, or have a certain... There's a
Very
lot
specific.
of different things with these.
Uh,
But that's kind of...
Yeah.
So they added 2 more. So now this one Pokemon has 5 evolutions already. And we call these the Eeveelutions,
yeah.
because it can turn into so many different things. So then, a few kind of things went by, nothing changed. Like, you could still get Eevee, you could still turn an Eevee into... But you needed 5 Eevees. Because if you wanted a Vaporeon, you wanted an Umbreon, like, you wanted all this stuff, you had to get 5 different Eevees. So whenever you saw an Eevee, you caught the Eevee, because you knew you were going to need it for the, next thing. So if you want to catch them all, Eevee's the one to get.
Yeah.
Well, then, they decided, what if we gave it 2 new forms?
Okay.
So now we're introducing Leafeon and Glaceon.
Okay.
These were very unique because the only way to get them to evolve into that was you had to level them up around a certain stone. So there was a rock in the game, and you would just run around that rock and get into fights with that Eevee.
That's hilarious.
And when that Eevee leveled high enough by being next to that rock, it would evolve into either Glaceon if you were by the frozen rock, or Leafeon if you were by the forest rock.
That's cool.
So now we go from 5 to 7 evolutions.
Uh-huh.
That's a lot of evolutions already. That is insane when you start to think about anyone else, pretty much. Like, I don't think that there is another Pokemon in the universe that has that many evolutions.
Uh-huh, but it's really hard to get them.
Exactly. So, and some of them are environmental, some of them are more of like, I need the special item to do it. I have to have max affinity, da-da-da-da.
It's the most versatile Pokemon there is.
It really is, because you could have it be anything you want,
Oh.
and it'll do it.
I'm guessing it starts off as just a no type. Like,
Yep, normal.
normal.
Yep, just a normal type. No actual typing. So then, they introduced one more.
Uh-huh.
And you have to have max friendship with your Eevee in order to get it to evolve
Oh,
into this. And I
okay.
don't know if you need an item as well, because this is, keep in mind, around the time I stopped doing this.
Yeah.
But you could turn it into something called a Sylveon.
Uh-huh.
And a Sylveon looks like a pink ribbon dog.
I remember.
Super cute. It's a fairy type.
It's a fairy type. The last one's white, right? With like the pink.
It's, yeah, white, kind of like center body with pink on the overalls, and then the
Uh-huh.
pink ribbons and bows and stuff. Don't ask me how, like, evolution-wise goes, something could evolve ribbons
It
as a
evolves
physical,
ribbons.
but you know, like, also we're not
Pokemon.
we're not asking ourselves this is a plot hole. We're going over it.
We also don't ask ourselves how a stapler can be a Pokemon, but it is somehow.
Yeah, we don't. We just don't. So I love Eevee so much because Eevee has all of these different evolutions. You can have a whole team of just Eevee evolutions and beat the game. Because you have something to deal with everything.
Yep.
And it's so fun that it's all the same Pokemon that you're just like, this is great! Some Pokemon, like, talking about evolution in the Pokemon series is a really fun aspect because they got creative with some of it. Like, some Pokemon, only the females of that species evolve.
Yep.
So, unless you catch, like, a female of this... I forget what it was called, but it's like this black salamander-looking thing. It will not evolve unless it's the female.
That's fun.
And then the female gets, like, 3 times the size of the male. And you just have to think to yourself, like, that society must be crazy. Like, those, like, mating dens must be nuts.
The black salamander mating den.
Yeah, gotta be crazy. Also, because I'm trying to, like, kind of go over things that I think would kind of be there for everybody. One more that I can think a lot of people would probably want me to talk about would be Ditto.
This is the one that can change into other Pokemon, right?
Not only can it change into other Pokemon, it can mimic all their shit.
Ew!
So, if you have, like, a Pikachu with Thunderbolt,
Aw.
neat. Mine now.
I am you.
Yeah, so your Ditto can now turn into that Pikachu and use Thunderbolt.
I love that so much.
Now, you might think to yourself, that's a pretty powerful, like, concept, because it can mimic legendary Pokemon, by the way. So, like, nice Lugia, or Entei, or, you know, Rayquaza. Mine now. It can turn into anything. There's no restrictions, which is nuts.
Yeah.
And in the actual TV show, it can even start to copy humans. Really crazy, huh?
That's creepy.
Yeah. So...
and there's no serial killer type Pokemon yet.
that we know of.
That's what I want to see. I want to see a detective show where it's just like some hardened detective with a fedora on and he's smoking a cigarette. And then it pans out and there's just like a Ditto right next to him, like at his leg or something. It's like, things are getting rough out here, Ditto. And they're solving the crimes of a bunch of Pokemon trainers have showed up dead, and their Pokemon have been ravaging the cityscapes in which
that would be a lot of fun. I would watch that. Like, I would watch an adult TV show for Pokemon where it still is in the Pokemon universe, but they have to explain everything that's actually going on in the Pokemon universe. So, like, there was Detective Pikachu with Ryan Reynolds. Like, that was kind of the closest we've ever gotten.
I don't want a kid's movie. I want a grizzled old middle-aged man smoking a cigarette who's like, fuck, Ditto.
Damn it, Ditto.
God damn it, there's murder happening on these streets.
So,
Ditto's also smoking a cigarette and also has a fedora on. This is what I want.
So you're thinking to yourself, you know, like, Ditto, extremely strong Pokemon in general, limited only by its opponent, which is kind of a crazy concept. Also, it copies the typing of whatever it turned into. So it's like, cool, your Pikachu knows Thunderbolt? Well, I turned into an electric type.
Yep.
Haha. So it's kind of crazy in that regard as well. Ditto is never, hardly ever, used for combat.
And why is that?
That's because in the Pokemon universe, from the beginning, you could go to something called the Pokemon Daycare. Keep in mind, this is for children.
The look you're giving me of don't ask questions.
Well, no, it's because you're going to know what's happening in this daycare. And we as adults know what's happening in this daycare.
Oh god, what's happening at daycare?
So if
is this daycare for the Pokemon?
Yes.
Okay.
It's daycare just for the Pokemon.
Okay.
So if I leave my Gyarados
Yeah.
in the daycare, he will level. Because he's training. He's still, like, doing stuff, right? Whereas if I leave my Pokemon back, anywhere else, he's not gaining experience. So the daycare was like, you might think it's just used to level up Pokemon that you want to level without having them in your team. Mm-hmm. It can be used for that. If you leave 2 Pokemon of different genders, but the same species, in the daycare, and you come back, the daycare lady will inform you that from nowhere an egg appeared. It's crazy. But you should probably take it with you. You know?
This is a Pokemon fight/fuck ring.
It's a daycare. It's like a training camp. Like, this is fun. I like
There's
this.
a bunch of humans at the back with like, I got money on Pika, I got money on my money's on Diglett. Meanwhile, 2 other Pokemon are fucking in the back.
This is where I said, remember, this is for children.
This is for children.
So they can't say, hey, your Pokemon were just in the back taking it to Pound Town. That's how they leveled up. They're like, alright, well, like, this egg appeared out of nowhere. It's like, no, I got pregnant, and it fully had an egg.
Fucking and fighting. Let's go, Pokemon.
It's also funny because that insinuates that in Pokemon, every Pokemon, no matter what it is, comes from an egg.
Uh-huh.
Because you can hatch a Pikachu out of an egg.
I want my stapler egg right now.
So, Ditto
Uh-huh.
is unique.
Yes.
When you leave Ditto in the daycare with any Pokemon of any gender, because Ditto does not have a gender, because Ditto is whatever Ditto wants to fucking be. Whenever you return to the daycare after a couple days, the daycare lady will be like, hey, there's an egg. Which implies that your Ditto that you left there and your giant rock snake that you also left there, Onyx.
They did the do.
Ditto, here's the funniest thing. Ditto actively would have had to actively choose to become a female or male version of the Pokemon that you left in there so that they could get it on. Because Ditto has the ability to transform, does not have to do that.
Ditto loves doing the do. Did Ditto do the do? Did Ditto want to do the do?
Ditto does the do all the time.
Ditto very much enjoys doing the do. Ditto, so you're saying is nobody ever takes Ditto out of daycare, they just switch out what other Pokemon's in there with Ditto.
That is exactly what happens, yes.
Okay.
So if you want, it's great, because if you catch a Ditto and you only have one Eevee, you sit there and you just have them crank out more Eevee babies for you to evolve. So you're like, I'm going to catch I don't even have to catch another one. This is great. This is perfect. Now, there is the exception of legendary Pokemon cannot breed.
Okay.
At least beforehand. I don't know if they changed that rule. Don't come at me in the comments. But if you left, your Ditto and a Rayquaza in there, they couldn't make babies. You wouldn't get a baby Rayquaza. It would just never happen.
Yeah.
But because of this, it's also extremely funny, because remember how I said they're leveling?
Yeah.
It's not uncommon for almost every player to have a level 100 Ditto, which is the max level, because it's just been in the daycare this whole time.
Why would more
levels.
people just take it out occasionally for battles? Because wouldn't that be the smartest thing to do, because you already have a max level Ditto?
It is extremely effective in combat, but here's the problem. Remember how I said it takes on the aspects of whatever it turns into as well?
Yeah.
If I turn into a Pikachu and you have a Pikachu, yes, if you use Thunderbolt, it's not as effective against me, but if I use Thunderbolt exactly the same way, it is not as effective against you.
So can it only turn into the thing that's right in front of it?
Yep.
Oh, that makes more sense. Because I was like, if it can turn into anything, it can just be like, oh, you're a fire type, let me just really quickly turn into water,
type.
you know?
That happens in the TV show, not in the game. In the game, when you hit transform, it turns into whatever
Oh.
Pokemon was directly in front of it when you
So
use
the
that
TV
ability.
show can break the rules.
Yes, TV show breaks the rules all the time. All the time. But
Rude.
yeah, so I think I talked a lot about a lot of the tropes for Pokemon. We gave a generalization of the world and everything like that. There's a lot of different regions to talk about. There's the TV show itself to talk about, not to mention the movies and stuff that came out. That would be really fun to get into, or just getting more into the specifics of each different type of Pokemon, like the fire types and the dragon types, where they live, their environments, some fun, more information about those. So let us know in the comments if you would like another Pokemon episode, or if there's anything that I forgot to cover. Please let us know in the comments below.
Yeah. Bye.
Until then, if you've enjoyed what we've done, please go check out our Patreon, and you can help support us there. If you want to enjoy more videos like this, we're going to be coming out with a podcast episode pretty frequently. So please do stick around for all kinds of random nerdy stuff. Until then, we'll see you again next time. Bye, everyone!
Bye.